Hello, everyone. So today we're talking about the case of Margaret Sweet. So there's not a whole lot of information, and because of that, this is going to be a much shorter video. And I kind of was going back and forth on whether or not I should make it into its own video or put into a mini cases video, which I've been doing a lot lately. You've probably noticed that there have been a lot of shorter videos, shorter than usual. Um, but I just ultimately decided that I wanted to leave this and put it into its own video. But all the links that I used to research will be down below, like always, in case you would like to go and do your own research on this case. There will also be a link to a case suggestions form and a link to my other podcast, Sinister, in case you would like to check that out. But yeah, there's, like I said, not much information, not very many photos either. So I do apologize. But let's go ahead and get into this. So, like I said, there's unfortunately not a whole lot about this cold case because it is now cold. Margaret May Sweet was a young, lively woman. She occasionally used the name Shelby Jameson, and she loved live music. She was a lover of the outdoors who had an adventurous spirit, who felt most like herself when she was whitewater rafting in the mountains. She was a reliable and thoughtful person who always made herself available for a friend in need. Margaret was living in Nashville, Tennessee when she met her boyfriend, and I believe his name is pronounced Jer. I guess it could also be Jeremy or Jerry, or I guess it could be short for Jeremy. It's spelled Jere. I've never seen that before, so sorry, but I guess his name is Jaredale Batts. What a name. The relationship was tumultuous, although Jer claimed that he never physically harmed her. On May 13th, 2008, she had filed an order of protection against him after he had followed her across the country to Colorado Springs, and even on one occasion, he left a teddy bear, a dozen red roses, and an engagement ring on her car. So he's creepy. On December 24th, 2008, she was home in Colorado Springs helping her dad, James, tend to her stepmom, Peggy, and Peggy was recovering from surgery at a local hospital. So Margaret and her father, James, they were taking turns visiting Peggy. Around 11 p.m., a neighbor overheard a loud verbal argument between an unidentified man and Margaret, followed by a gunshot at her dad's home. 911 was never called. Never called. And when I read that, I thought that was just absolutely wild. Like, a neighbor overhears this loud verbal argument between this man and Margaret, and then they hear a gunshot. And you never even thought to call 911. You never thought that maybe this argument and this gunshot were connected in any way. That is just wild to me that just did not cross your mind. When James returned home the next day, he noticed something on the white picket fence. And when he inspected closer, he realized that it was Margaret's bloody body with one leg in the basement well. She had been shot. So that argument with the man and Margaret that was followed by a gunshot, that was likely Margaret being shot. This was the verbal argument that this neighborhood did not bother to, call 911 for. And because of this, they never came, and her body had just been sitting there. And her father had to be the one to find her. When 911 arrived, because he did call 911, thankfully, unlike the fucking neighbor, she was declared dead. And the thing is, we don't know, where she was shot, so there's always the chance that, depending on where she was shot, maybe she could have survived. And yet 911 just was not called. So investigators ran a ballistic report, and they found that the same gun was used to injure a man in a drug deal in 2007. The victim survived, and no one was arrested. Toxicology would show that she was sober at the time of her death and that there was no connection to the drug trade. Jer would tell police that he was on a date with another woman at the time, and other than this, I could find nothing else on the investigation itself. Her case is unsolved, and there has been very little coverage since her murder, and her case is essentially cold. So I don't know what else happened here. I don't know what else they did to investigate. I can only assume that Jer was questioned. I don't even know if they have any suspects or persons of interest. But if you have any information that could be helpful in this case, you are urged to contact the Colorado Springs Police Department at 719-444-7000. And that is all I have on the case of Margaret Sweet. So my thought is that, one, I 100% think that Jer had something to do with it. This man followed her across the country to the point where she had to put an order of protection against him. He left an engagement ring and roses and all that stuff on her car, so he's creepy at best. A possible murder at worst. And you're gonna try to tell me, you want me to believe that you just were on a date with another woman at this time. You are showing obsessive behavior with Margaret, and you were just with another woman at this time. I don't believe that. I think that for whatever reason, he might have shown up at her house. That could have caused an argument. That is what that argument was about, maybe. And he shot her, and that is with the neighborhood. And secondly, I think that neighbor sucks. I'm just saying, if you hear this argument between Margaret and an unidentified man, you hear a gunshot, the argument stops. I don't know about you, but I would think, oh my god, did someone get shot? Did that just happen? And I would call 911. I don't know why not calling 911 was not in their head at the time. But this is not a situation when you need to mind your business. You heard a gunshot. And clearly it was Margaret, because Margaret was shot and she was found by her father. And I think that is just horrible. Like, this man is having to help his wife recover in the hospital, and he comes home and finds his daughter dead on their picket fence. That is horrifying. But I do think that it was Jer. That's just what I believe. I think he was just very, very obsessed with her. And I can't believe that nothing else has happened with this case. There has to be something that they must have missed, because I don't know how. It's just unsolved. To me, it just feels like it's very obvious. But let me know what you guys think down below. And I will see you guys very soon. Bye, guys.